Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're outside Old Trafford, and it's actually drizzle now, but it was pouring down a minute ago. But we don't care. Manchester United are in the Champions League next season, finishing third after a 2-0 win away at Leicester. And as you'd expect, most of the Paper Talk this morning is focusing on that, focusing on the facts that United will have Champions League football here at Old Trafford next season. Feels like it's been a long way. It's not been that long, but it feels like a lot longer. And I can't wait for next season now to see United going up against the very best in Europe. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been quoted, he spoke after the game and he said that a lot of the critics had sort of written United off. They predicted that United were going to finish 5th or 6th. So it's a fantastic achievement for his team to finish 3rd, and they've got the Manchester United DNA. And you can understand where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is coming from. I mean, he wasn't gloating. He's not that kind of guy. He wasn't angry or having a dig at the press. He said that the pressmen in the press had sort of predicted a 5th or 6th place finish, because I think a lot of fans had as well. There was a time when it looked as though Manchester United had almost no chance of getting Champions League football. I keep going back to that game after Burnley, because that was a game where we sort of reached our lowest ebb. Many people thought Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was on his way out. They thought that Mauricio Pochettino was going to come in. We felt that Champions League football was just an impossible dream. And at another point in the season, Leicester were 15 points ahead of us. So for them to go out of the top 4, us to get Champions League football, and to finish 3rd is quite some achievement. I'm not going to go into a match review or a season review. We've done a match review and we'll have a season review coming up as well. But you have to sort of be honest about what we were expected to do and where we finished. Did Manchester United, or did anyone really think we'd finish 1st or 2nd this season? That we had what it took to finish above City or Liverpool? No, not really. So 3rd is probably the best we could have hoped for at the moment. But listen, with Manchester United, we should be finishing higher than 3rd in the Premier League. We should be challenging for titles. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer knows that, and he's spoken about that. He said that when it comes to transfers, because obviously now we want to see Manchester United spend money and bring players in, he said that the club knows what he wants to do, and it's up to the club to make it happen. So the obvious target that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be referring to or be looking at is Jadon Sancho. Again, I mean, the Jadon Sancho story has sort of plateaued a little bit. It's not really gone anywhere over the past week or so. We know that Dortmund won around £110 million. We know that Manchester United aren't quite willing to pay that. The stories are that we're willing to pay around £80 to £90 million, although there were reports earlier in the season that we were only going to go as high as £50 million. Those reports seem to be pretty false. So it looks like there's a sort of a 20 to £30 million gap between where United are and where Dortmund are. Now, one big question was over Champions League football. Would United have Champions League football? Because I don't think that mattered as much in terms of making Jadon Sancho want to come to Manchester United. A lot of the reports indicate that even without Champions League football, Jadon Sancho was happy to come to United. The issue was, without that Champions League football revenue, it's more difficult for the club, or allegedly for the club, to have the money to pay for him, because we know that not only does playing in the Champions League bring in the extra TV money, I would say crowd revenue, but we don't know where we stand with that, although there are tentative plans for some fans to be back in the stadium, I think, in the next few months. But in terms of the sort of the TV revenue and also our sponsorship deals, many of our sponsorship deals here at United are tied in with Champions League football, and if we don't get that, then you lose certain amounts of money. So that makes a difference when it comes to buying players, and that was a sort of a ready-made excuse, would it, if you want, for want of a better word, for the Glazers or whoever to say, oh well, we didn't get Champions League football, now we can't afford to get Jadon Sancho. We've got Champions League football. Jadon Sancho wants to come. The manager obviously wants him. Now we need to make that deal happen, because if we're serious about challenging at the very top, if we're serious about going for it in the Champions League and not just making up the numbers, then we need to buy players like Jadon Sancho. So we'll have to wait and see. There were reports, obviously, that he wanted to come, and also that the club wanted him to sort of force a move through. We've had a few papers reporting that he was being encouraged to sort of, not to down tools or spit his dummy out, but to let Dortmund know that he was ready to move on and that he wanted to come to Manchester United. So we know where we're at with that one. Dortmund want a certain amount, we want to pay a certain amount. We've got Champions League, he wants to come. Ollie's sort of giving his message to the board, make these deals happen, make that deal happen, and we need to see it happen, because without signing someone like Jadon Sancho, it's going to be very difficult for Manchester United to kick on, to move on to the next level. As I said earlier, finishing 3rd, yeah, in terms of where the season and a bit of perspective, it's very good, but it's not where Manchester United fans want to be. We want to be challenging for the title, especially when we see Liverpool winning titles and City just behind him, or not just behind him, quite a distance behind him, but City finishing 2nd. we want to see Manchester United up there above those two teams. Now, another player that has been linked with United, again, this is almost a bit of a strange one, because I thought this transfer rumour had died under Jose Mourinho, was Ivan Perisic. Now, he was linked with United a few seasons ago. It looked like he was going to come from Inter, but there was a bit of a disparity between what Inter wanted and what United were willing to pay. Inter apparently wanting around 50 million quid. Manchester United unwilling to go that high. Apparently, at one point, it seemed as though United were only willing to go to 45 million pounds, and Inter dug their heels in and wanted 50 million, and the deal didn't happen. Now, how true that is, I don't know. Now, Perisic is 31 years old, but there's rumours and stories circulating. I think this emanated from the Daily Mail, so you can take that with a pinch of salt. But there's a story that because Inter have got Alexis Sanchez on loan and want to make that deal permanent, because Ivan Perisic went to Bayern Munich, where he's had a very successful season. Bayern Munich, of course, won the Bundesliga. He played quite a big part in that. He played around 22 games, scored 4 goals. Obviously, an important player for them this season. Then a deal could be done which sees Sanchez going to Inter on a permanent and Perisic coming to Old Trafford as part of that deal. Is that just paper talk? Will that really happen? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, Perisic is obviously a very talented player. He is 31, and there's a sort of a worry for me. It might be slightly swapping like for like. Are we swapping one winger who's not on his, well, in Alexis Sanchez, who's in decline and not quite up to Premier League standard anymore? Are we swapping for someone else who's probably past his best? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see with that one. As I said earlier, it's nothing concrete there. It's just a sort of rumour that's doing the rounds this morning. We'll wait and see if that could happen. It's pretty obvious that Alexis Sanchez doesn't have much of a future at Old Trafford, so would bringing in Perisic for him be such a bad idea? Probably not. But we have to remember as well that if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does want transfers, if he does want the likes of Jadon Sancho, he may well have to get players off the wage bill. He may well have to bring some money in to make those deals happen, and swapping one player on a big contract for another player on a big contract isn't going to help him sign Jadon Sancho. Would we want to see Perisic here at Old Trafford? I think if he was available and it was an easy deal to make, yes. But as I said earlier, we need to be going for the big signings, the players that are going to really move this club forward, and the priority has to be Jadon Sancho, although that shouldn't be the only deal that Manchester United look at this summer, because the transfer window is now open. We know deals could be done before it, but it's open now, and we need to get moving, and we need to be bringing in the players that are going to help Manchester United challenge at the very top. Now, one player who could be on his way out of Manchester United is Diogo Dalot, and you could argue bizarrely it's Barcelona that are after him. He's not had the greatest of times recently, Diogo Dalot. I feel a little bit sorry for him because everyone's been giving him a little bit of stick, but he did play a big part in giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer his job. It was his shot, should you say, his misplaced shot almost in Paris that got us the penalty that Marcus Rashford converted, that give us the win that almost guaranteed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer his permanent job. But you can't dine out on that forever. He hasn't had a great time of it, and he's now third in the left back pecking order. Forgotten man Timothy Fosu Mensah has leapfrogged over him, so it doesn't look like Dalot's got much of a future at the club. And Barcelona are reportedly interested in him. I think it was ESPN running the story that they're looking to bring him over to La Liga. They think he could be a player that can do a job for them. If he hasn't got a future at Old Trafford, then going to the Nou Camp isn't exactly a bad move for him. In my opinion, it's a little bit of a step down. Some people may disagree, but certainly not a bad move for a player that can't get a game at Old Trafford to go to a club like Barcelona, one of the European giants. We'll keep an eye on it, see if that happens. If it does, that'd be a great move for him, and we'd wish him well. Now, another story that was doing the rounds last week that sort of died down a little bit was this story about this young lad from Manchester City, Charlie McNeil, 16 years old. He turned 17 in September. He left Manchester City. He was at their academy. He'd announced that he'd left. We know that. Now, there was a story that started doing the rounds that he was coming to Old Trafford, that United wanted him, and that it was going to be set by a tribunal. Now, what threw a bit of a spanner in the works with that story was the idea that he'd already gone to RB Leipzig. There was reports on Transfer Market that he was at RB Leipzig. Now, people in the comments when I mentioned this were saying, some people were saying he's at Leipzig, others were saying that he's not at City, he's just left City, he's not got another club yet. We're waiting for confirmation of that. He's not confirmed anything. No clubs have confirmed anything. But it's one to keep an eye on. And what I've been told is that we may hear something this week. That the announcement may be made this week as to where Charlie McNeil ends up. He's a 600 goal wonder kid, if you can believe that. He's actually scored 600 goals, obviously at a very lower level, but that's pretty phenomenal. So if he does end up at Old Trafford, we'll be happy. But as I said earlier, he could be going to Leipzig. He could already be there. We're waiting to get that confirmed. But it looks as though at the minute he doesn't have a club, and that Manchester United are interested in it, and that he's a Manchester United fan as well. So we'll see where he ends up. I think no one would be complaining if we got a 16-year-old who has scored 600 goals. Then, you know, that's a positive move for the future. That's one for the future. Obviously, he wouldn't come straight into the team or anything like that. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll see what happens with that. We've got loads of stuff coming up on the channel, as you'd expect. We're going to have the season review. Myself, Adam McCullough, Stephen Howson, Joe Smith. We're going to be looking at the season, where Andy Tate's going to be on later today. I think he's coming on Howson's Brew. We're also going to have the Tier 1 podcast later on in the week. We're going to have Howson and McCullough Uncensored, all the stuff that you'd expect. We're also going to be looking ahead towards the Europa League as well. So yes, it is raining here in Manchester. It is pretty drizzly, but it feels like it's sunshine, because Manchester United back in the Champions League, where we belong. I've been Jay. This has been Stretford Paddock Paper Talk. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.